Hello, welcome back to our session, our conference of the Clean Energy Transition Partnership. My name is Gerdi Breembroek. I'm from the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, and I have the honor to be your guest woman in this session here, which will look into the role of research and innovation in the Net Zero Industry Act. We had a deep dive in the Net Zero Industry Act, the session before this one. And in this session, we are going to look at the role of research and innovation for the Net Zero Industry Act, and also the relation between what we're doing in the Clean Energy Transition Partnership and all of these developments. We will be having a keynote from Marois Getsiou and also a panel discussion, and I'll introduce our guests to you. The first one I want to introduce is indeed Marois Getsiou. Marois is working at the European Commission. She is a senior expert in renewable energy research and innovation policy with more than 15 years of experience. And she's currently working at the DG Research and Innovation and the unit Clean Energy Transitions. She's also really closely related to the work of the Clean Energy Transition Partnership. So I'm really happy, and it's very suitable that you're here, Marois. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Gerdi.
The second panelist we will be having is Valérie Sejourné. Valérie is from Solar Heat Europe, and she's representing one of those industries that is one of the industries that is stimulated and that is in focus in the Net Zero Industry Act. And we will be discussing with her what research and innovation, but also what the Net Zero Industry Act means for her industry. So welcome to this conference, Valérie. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
Then we have also with us Jean-Baptiste Le Marois. Jean-Baptiste is from the International Energy Agency in Paris. He's part of the Energy Technology Policy Division, co-leading the International Energy Agency innovation work with, for example, contributions to the IEA Net Zero by 2050 roadmap. And he's also the coordinator of the Clean Tech Guide, which is an online database tracking progress of around 600 clean energy technologies. And from that perspective, he's really knowledgeable about research and innovation in the whole world, and that makes him a very interesting partner for our discussions later today. And
thank you, Gerdi.
The last person we will be having is, I think, known to many of you because it's Michael Hübner, who is the coordinator of the Clean Energy Transition Partnership. He's from the Austrian Federal Ministry for Climate Action, Environment, Energy, Mobility, Innovation and Technology. So he is a suitable partner for every conversation you might have, I would say. Thank you for joining, Michael.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for invitation.
And yes, we as a Clean Energy Transition Partnership are, of course, focused on research and innovation for the clean energy transition. And this morning we discussed the Net Zero Industry Act, which is very important for our direction as well, because the Net Zero Industry Act will be important to shape the net zero industry in years to come in Europe. And we're contributing from a different angle from research and innovation. And I would like to invite Marois Getsiou to reflect in her keynote on the relation between research and innovation and the aims and methods of the Net Zero Industry Act. Marois, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gerdi. Thank you very much. Yes. So, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. I know that in the morning you had a very good discussion, and there was a very good presentation, actually an explanation of what the Net Zero Industry Act is and what role it is going to play in the industrial landscape of the European Union. So I will go very quickly in my first slide, since the Net Zero Industry Act has already been presented, but I won't skip this one because I want to put it in the right frame. We are under the European Green Deal, which is the growth strategy for Europe. It is important because it has set the goals of the green transition. It has intermediate goals for greenhouse gas emissions reduction by 2030, and of course the ultimate climate neutrality goal by 2050. At the same time, we want to be a prosperous society and to base our economy on competitiveness. And then for this reason, the Green Deal Industrial Plan has come some 2 years ago, and under the Green Deal Industrial Plan, the Net Zero Industry Act and the Critical Raw Materials Act. It is very well understood by everyone that we are together, the European Union, the member states, industry, stakeholders, everybody should be involved in this effort. And this is why we are talking about coordination at all levels, coordination at the European level, and joining forces together with member states. I will skip the general objectives of ENZIA since they have already been presented, but I will focus now, I will go again on the pillars of the ENZIA, because on these pillars I would like to hook my presentation, which is about research and innovation. So, as has been presented by Daniel and by colleagues in the morning, ENZIA focuses on permitting and market, on investment, on skills, innovation and governance. However, apart from innovation, which is a pillar, but which is mainly linked to regulatory sandboxes and how small and medium enterprises, SMEs, can be helped in order to innovate and at the same time be in a position to sell their products in the market, there is nothing else clearly defined about innovation. However, there are hooks on innovation because, of course, when we are talking about markets and when we are talking about permitting, there are links for innovation. So if we see on that for markets, for example, and as explained by Daniel, there will be auctions which will be based on resilience and which will be based on products that are more sustainable, then there is a link for innovation because we need to innovate in order to make such products. Also, in investment, for example, we are talking about on the strategic projects. In order for a project to be strategic, first of all, it has to be to promote a competitive technology. And therefore, in order to have a competitive technology, we need to have innovation. So for this reason, I've presented again the areas on which ENZIA focuses, and then I will explain further. The set plan, which, as has been mentioned previously, is already included in the ENZIA, in the legal document, in the legal act. But first of all, what is the set plan? I think most of you will know the set plan because it is not something new. It was launched in 2007. I think it was more or less the same time that I joined the unit on clean energy transition. So with the goal to align the strategies and the research and innovation strategies of member states and of the European Commission towards the clean investments and clean technologies. So its aim is that it will help the cooperation of all the stakeholders in order to promote our clean transition goals. Now, it is arranged or it is structured around certain priorities. For example, becoming number one in renewables, or promoting clean energy systems, promoting energy efficiency, sustainable transport, and the other areas which are mentioned already in the presentation. For each of these areas, then, there are implementation working groups. There are in total 14 implementation working groups in which member state representatives, and not only member states, but also associated countries and sometimes third countries participate in order to develop joint research agendas or joint agendas, and in order to define a roadmap for implementing these priorities, for implementing the priorities which have been agreed upon. So the role of the set plan, as I said previously, is included in the Net Zero Industry Act. The Net Zero Industry Act says or talks about the establishment of the Strategic Energy Technologies Plan Steering Group. The steering group is not new. It is something that exists, but the new steering group, the one that will be established, it will be included in the framework of ENZIA, and as I will show you later on, it will have a connection with the governance of the ENZIA. The tasks of the set plan are to provide guidance and directions to the Strategic Energy Technology Plan, to coordinate the support for the development of clean energy technologies at all levels, as previously mentioned, so stakeholders, industry, member states, European Commission, and to advise and assist the European Commission in order to take, under certain circumstances, the right initiatives and the right tasks, to perform the right tasks. Now, there is a link with a platform. This is defined in the Act, that the platform, which is the governance body of the Net Zero Industry Act, will meet at least once with the steering group of the set plan in order to exchange experience, to discuss the developments, and therefore there will be an open dialogue between the steering group of the set plan and the platform, which is the governance body of the ENZIA. An element which is mentioned, an element which is related to research and innovation, which is mentioned actually in the regulation in ENZIA, is the regulatory sandboxes. The regulatory sandboxes are very important because they would allow small and medium enterprises to promote their products, even if the conditions, the regulatory conditions, do not allow them for the moment to do so. So the regulatory sandbox gives the possibility for a product or a solution which is facing at the moment regulatory barriers to have time-limited access in order to test those products and then to overcome in the time to come those regulatory barriers. So the instrument is very important because it gives, first of all, the possibility of a dialogue between innovators and between energy regulators, and it provides SMEs and startups with priority access in these net zero regulatory sandboxes, and ultimately with the possibility to promote those their products and to overcome actually the obstacles and the barriers in the promotion of their products in the European market. Another area where we can hook actually innovation is on the priority of the net zero strategic projects, which is defined in the ENZIA. As explained by Daniel and my colleagues in the morning, the net zero strategic projects are manufacturing projects. They are not research and innovation projects, they are manufacturing projects of commercial technologies. However, they have three objectives. First of all, actually they cover three areas. to increase the manufacturing capacity of a component or of a segment of the market that does, when at the time when we are talking about, depends for more than 50% of its full value chain on imports. For example, photovoltaics can fall under this category, or which makes a substantive contribution to the 2030 climate energy objectives. And again, here, photovoltaics or wind technology, for example, they can hook, they have a place. Then the second category is the one of a technology which represents a significant share of world production. I can think about heat pumps, for example, here. And the last one is, I'm sorry, it's not the last one. My lines here are mixed and I have mixed the categories. So the second one is when there are measures or there are with the manufacturing capacity, actually the local market is being supported because there are initiatives or they give the possibility for upskilling and reskilling of the workforce or for contributing to the competitiveness of the local SMEs. And the last category is contributing to the competitiveness of the union's market, however, covering as well the climate and energy objectives by manufacturing products which actually fall under more sustainable category. They have a higher performance, or they have circularity features, or they, in general, have a higher sustainability degree. So the key innovation challenges for the net zero technologies, of course, is the acceleration of the transition, competitiveness, security of supply, and sustainability and societal acceptance. And all these innovation challenges can be catered by all levels of research, by basic research, which can bring disruptive innovation, by applied research, which can sustain actually innovation, and by infrastructural research and innovation for regulatory and systemic innovations and for resilience. So these are generic innovation challenges for all technologies, regardless of the NZIA. Now, if we link innovation to NZIA, then we can say that the innovation challenges that can be catered or can cater actually NZIA is how to bring from lab to fab technologies. So there are technologies that can cater NZIA, but they need to be brought to a higher level or very closer to commercialization. Then the challenge is how we support the scaling up and the manufacturing capacity of these technologies. How we make more efficient manufacturing processes with more automation and more digitalization, so that the advanced manufacturing and the resource efficiency are the two objectives of research that would cater actually products that are more efficient and most cost competitive. Another key innovation challenge for net zero strategic project is to drive research in energy efficiency and on circular economy. So industrial energy efficiency is something which is very important, and it would lead to making industrial processes more energy efficient through electrification, through innovations in processing, like innovations that use heat recovery or process optimization that significantly and permanently reduce emission rates of CO2. Or processes that are based on circularity and recyclability. So developing products that are easier to recycle, easier to repair and reuse, for example, for solar panels or for batteries, So for more sustainable manufacturing and for products that have a longer end of life. Then on material efficiency, RDI should explore new sustainable materials or the use of less materials or recycled materials, and or use of non-toxic materials, for example. And therefore, these practices can be catered. These are challenges, RDI challenges, that can cater solutions for the net zero strategic projects. Another challenge that can cater net zero strategic projects is how to accelerate technology commercialization. So, as I said before, the challenges for net zero technologies can be seen from the very basic challenges until challenges which are linked to the value chain very close to commercialization. However, if we want to be at the forefront of competitiveness, the first area where we have to look is to the higher TRL degrees, to the higher technology readiness levels, on advancing technologies that can come very close to commercialization very fast. Also, to support startups and SMEs, to support standardization and certification, and increase funding for grants for projects that focus on scaling up clean technologies and achieving commercial readiness. I will finish very soon. So another element which has been mentioned and which is, I think, one of the basic characteristics of the CETP partnership is collaboration. As has been said before, and I think it was one of the questions that have been put in the previous session, international collaboration is very important. It is important because in order to promote manufacturing in Europe, we have to sell products not only in Europe, but in the whole world. And therefore, to respond to global standards and best practices, but also with participation in technology partnerships in which many countries of the world, not only European, participate, there is an exchange and a share of knowledge and a co-development of solutions that will be very important in the future energy system. And I think with this, I have come to the end of my time. I see Gerdi in the screen, and I would like to thank you and to thank you for your patience. Thank you for your attention. And I will be here again for the panel discussion and for replying to your questions.
Thank you very much, Maria. That was really interesting and a real broad scope of what research and innovation can do, and also how the mechanisms that we have in the European Union to support and align our research efforts have been very clearly linked to what it means for the Net Zero Industry Act and the Net Zero Industry targets, which are all, and that was where you started, which are all a part of our Green Deal for Europe. I wanted to ask, how do you see the connection? How do we feed this connection between what we're doing in the Clean Energy Transition Partnership, in the Net Zero Industry Act, and in the CET plan? Do you have some insights on that? How we could best collaborate here?
Yeah. So the CET plan, as I said before, was an initiative that came since 2007. It is constructed around the EWGs, as we call them, so areas in which member states, the Commission, associated countries collaborate. Now, these areas of collaboration we define strategic research agendas to align actually the funding of the European Commission towards these areas with the funding of the member states. So in order to do it actively in the Commission and with the participation of the Commission, we had the CETP partnership, which is exactly this. It is a program where member states, funding institutes from member states, put funding, so join their forces actually by funding joint projects, by organizing joint calls and funding joint projects, which the Commission also co-fund in order to support the efforts of member states and associated countries in these areas. And in this way, all the forces, all the funding forces at least, and the of member states, of our associated states, or for third countries align. So we create a solid basis, and we try to defragment the area of research and innovation in all the research challenges, in all the research areas which are covered under the CET plan. This is the CET plan. This is how CETP and CET plan are aligned. And as I said before, now, both the CETP and the CET plan are mentioned in ENSIA as a primary source, I would say, of input in ENSIA. Because within the CET plan and within the CETP, the technologies or the future technologies, the future commercial technologies, which will be supported within ENSIA, are supported, are being developed.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm sure that we will be talking about the need for technology development as well in our panel, but I think that there might be a question from the audience. Julia, is there anything people want to ask?
Yes, exactly. And also it is on the link of the CET plan and the Net Zero Industry Act. So it's a good follow-up question to the one you just asked, I think. So how does the European CET plan and ENSIA address sectors outside the energy sector itself? For example, healthcare, food and drink, or tourism?
Yes. So the CET plan is not about the other sectors. It is about the strategic energy technology plan. So ENSIA caters through the CET plan and the CETP for energy only. However, under ENSIA, there are other scientific advisory groups, which I guess would cater other sectors as well and other needs. But the CET plan and CETP are linked to energy and not to the other sectors. I think the DUTE partnership is also mentioned in ENSIA. So apart from CETP, another partnership is as well mentioned, but it is not linked either to the sectors that have been mentioned in the question.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Any other questions,
Yes,
Julia?
there's another question about innovation. How do you do if a project is highly market disruptive, or how much disruption is acceptable under the ENSIA? So it's a difficult question, I think.
ENSIA, as I said, is about manufacturing of commercial technologies or close to commercial technologies. If a technology is not commercial, it will receive support, for example, through the regulatory sandboxes. If the product cannot be placed in the market directly because it is so disruptive that it cannot conform to the regulatory framework, then through the regulatory sandboxes, it can be checked. And then the regulation to be adapted in a way so that the product, if it is competitive and if it complies with all the other necessary requirements for ENSIA, that it can go farther. So actually, ENSIA is the last part of the path, let's say, for the development of a disruptive technology. And ZIA is the last path, is the commercialization, is the production and commercialization. But before that, there are other instruments in the European Commission that can support the development of a disruptive technology. We have funding projects which are not only at the European level, but at member state level through the partnership, for example, the CETP partnership. Then there is the Innovation Fund, by which a project that it is still at the research and innovation level can go one step farther and have its demonstration, its first of a kind demonstration. And then, of course, there is NZIA, which can support commercial facilities. So there is a whole path to be filled in before something goes to commercialization.
I think that is a very good and clarifying answer. And just to expand on this a little and to start a panel discussion, I would like to invite everybody, all the panelists that were announced previously, to the stage here. And as we were talking about technologies, getting disruptive technology potentially, getting from that first stage to commercialization, I would like to invite Jean-Baptiste Le Marois to take us into his world and tell us about how these technologies move across those TRL levels, and how you see the relation between the research and innovation and Net Zero Industry Act in Europe.
Thanks, Gerdi, and thank you very much to the CET partnership for bringing us together. So, I mean, in introduction, I think I'd like to share a few macro thoughts from our work here at the International Energy Agency. And more specifically, last year, we updated our net zero by 2050 roadmap. And in that roadmap, we explained the role of clean energy innovation to meet climate targets. And we estimate that roughly 35% of the CO2 emission reductions that we need in 2050 come from technologies that are still in development today. This means that they have not reached markets at commercial scale. So what types of technologies are we talking about? We're talking, for example, in the power sector about advanced renewables integration, flexibility, battery storage, these types of equipment. In industry, we're talking about low emissions production of cement, iron and steel, or chemicals, sometimes with electrification, in other cases with hydrogen, sometimes with carbon capture. In transport, we're talking about planes, about ships, about heavy duty trucks, also about batteries that require fewer critical minerals, for example. In buildings, we're talking about lighter and better insulation materials. So really a broad spectrum of technologies here. And so, of course, we are seeing progress, but overall, we need much more innovation to be on track with net zero. And this is particularly true in heavy industry and long distance transport, for example, which we call hard to decarbonize sectors. And Maria, in your keynote, you said that we should focus on specific challenges and innovation needs. And I could not agree more here. And if, for example, the NZIA and other policies in the EU, like the Innovation Fund, have a big role to play, it's specifically in these sectors where we have big needs. So on the IEA website, you can find the Clean Tech Guide. It's a completely free database in which we track around 600 clean energy technologies and components. And for each, we look at the technology readiness level, we look at key projects, and where we see gaps. So this can be a useful resource to understand where to invest, where we need actually more progress, and where, depending on your TRL, you could have targeted action. So I'm happy to answer follow-up questions, but this was just to brush, I guess, the landscape of how we address innovation at the IEA. Back to you, Gerdi.
Thank you very much. Yes, I would like to invite now for quite a different perspective, for the perspective of one of the industries that is operating in this framework of research and innovation support, but also looking at commercialization, but at the same time also manufacturing and selling their equipment in Europe. Valérie, what are your perspectives on research and innovation linked to the Net Zero Industry Act, and what does it mean for your association, for your solar heat manufacturers?
Yes, good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to be in the panel with you today. So I'm Valérie Sejourné from Solar Heat Europe. Solar heat is a really nice technology because we are one of the technology listed in NZIA, and we are really proud to be there. And we also benefit from a very strong presence of manufacturing in Europe. We have some companies in our network, manufacturing in Greece, in Cyprus, in Austria, in Finland, in Spain, and we want them to be able to meet a growing demand and meet that demand from their production lines. So what we see is that they are working with really high social standards, high sustainability standards. They work in line with certification schemes. So and many of them are also the result of really important research and innovations. We see, for example, the hybrid PVT producing both heat and power. We also have high vacuum flat plate collectors. So this is really demonstrating that these SMEs can produce research and innovation. When the market grows, they can invest that budget into additional growing thing. But we need the demand to grow. Maria was saying earlier, from lab to fab. I would add from lab to fab to market, because in my sector at the moment, what we see is that my SMEs are building additional production lines for a potential growing demand, which we badly need. But there are some things which are unlocking that demand to scale up. So we also need the full ecosystem of the right policy signals, the right level playing field for all technologies to really scale up and play their role. And they are available now. We don't have to wait 2040, 2050. Jean-Baptiste was saying that 35% of technologies do not exist yet. Our technology in solar heat exists now, and we are just ready to scale. So really upscaling and promoting these innovations, these products which deliver now is important, and of course in parallel continuing the research.
Thank you very much. Well, if we're thinking about continuing the research, I would like to invite Michael to say a few words about what he sees as relevant here in this panel today to bring to the floor.
Thank you, Gerdi. Yeah, very interesting that we can have this discussion today, and as we want to find out what the role of research and innovation can be, and also then particularly what the role of CETPartnership can be, it's of course important that we think carefully. Many things have been said, and I'm in full agreement with the measures that are out there. And Maria Getsiou also has, I think, very systematically mentioned many aspects of innovation that are important here. However, Michele in the first panel has said that we need long-term and lasting strategies, and I think they are not so easy to get. We don't need straw fires, but really sustainable strategies, and that means we also have to face the critical questions in the field. And of course, very often we are immediately talking about technologies, and a lot has been said about competing and cheap production. But how to achieve that? That's not fully clear, I think, and it's not only about, I think, making material dependence less and creating more efficient production lines, but it's also about seeing markets, as it has been said, because the prices at the end, and Michele said it also, we have to work market oriented, and Valérie, I think, said it also. So at the end, we have to face that we need a market for our products. And the critical question is here, will Chinese people and Chinese industries be ready to buy European technology? Will we be able to sell our technology to emerging African markets or in India? So where are the technology markets? And it's always interesting that very often when we talk about markets, immediately we talk about energy markets, but we have to talk about technology markets here. So that's the striking point for technology companies. And Europe is unfortunately a slow and limited market. It's many of the national regulations and market rules are not super supportive sometimes, and we are in more and more countries facing bottlenecks of our grids and infrastructures. So if we want to make Europe a home market, a strong home market for our technologies, there is a lot to do, and that has, I think, also a number of consequences to how to think about innovation. And maybe we can speak about that later on in our discussion. I just want to mention one aspect that I think is important. We need not only to talk about technologies, we need also to talk about system integration of technologies to a seamless system, how to gain flexibility, how to integrate heating and cooling with electricity to find synergies, and also how to adapt our industrial production processes to the new kind of technologies. Because if we will not find answers to that questions soon, we will face, and this is, I think, already can already be recognized and observed, we will face a lot of resistance against the transition and about the new technologies. So I think this is a really important aspect. And the last sentence that I want to add is, I think Maria has mentioned that already also, if we try to innovate here and to contribute with research and innovation, we need to look not only on technologies alone, but in the context of the organization of the energy system. So how the future energy system is really organized in itself in an integrated and systematic way. And we need to look on transition. That is the question, how do we get from here to there? Because this is a question that very often is neglected, that we have very good visions about the future state that we want to reach, but how to get from here to there is an important question also that has to be treated systematically.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Michael. This is of course really important. At the same time, it's also we can't have one without the other in a way. We need those technologies, and we need to be sure that if we want to get to the climate neutral Europe in 2050, we will need not only the measures to make sure that we get there, but as we are seeing, as Daniel described this morning, we are in a vulnerable position, and we want to get stronger in our manufacturing capacity, and that is what the Net Zero Industry Act is also talking about. Maria, do you want to add something to this?
Yes,
please. The floor is yours.
Yeah, it gives me the occasion to say yes. Of course, we were talking, and I just mentioned the innovation challenges which are linked to the technologies and to the green transition in general, and then the specific innovation challenges which are linked to NZIA. So both of them are interlinked, and there are, the market and the manufacturing, they are interlinked. However, the big problem, as has been discussed in the morning was the fact that we are growing our market sometimes for some technologies without having the capacity to cater for the market. This is the case, for example, for PV or even for wind sometimes, or for technologies on which we will depend a lot, but we depend as well, our market depends a lot on imports. So this is something which is linked to NZIA. On the other side, the other parameter which is brought in by Michael is how do we link not only technologies, but how do we change our system, transition our system to a more integrated one, in which technologies do not stand by their own, but they cater one for the other. They function in an integrated energy system, which is also in line with the market possibilities at the European Union level, and of course in the international dimension. So these are two elements: the energy system, the energy market, and at the same time the manufacturing capacity of the Union are elements that are taken into consideration in NZIA and which are interlinked. For example, for the auctions, for the future auctions, as has been mentioned before, there will be non-price criteria. And these non-price criteria will be defined by the resilience that we have, or the lack of resilience actually that we have at European Union level. So there will be criteria that will define products which are sustainable or which are much more linked to local production capacity. And that's what I wanted to add.
Yes, I wanted to expand a little on the technologies and the support to technologies, and at the same time the need in Europe to have more domestic manufacture. What is the perspective of the IEA on what's happening here, Jean-Baptiste?
Thanks, Gerdi. I think I would like to maybe jump on a few things that have been said here. And the first one was with Valérie, who said, our technology already exists. And I think that's spot on. The first message I want to give is that to meet climate targets, we don't need fundamentally new technologies. We don't need a new breakthrough like inventing solar or batteries. Of course, breakthroughs help, but we do not rely on them in IEA modeling. So our number of 35% of the emissions reductions, it's actually technologies that already exist, but the challenge is scale, better designs, new combinations, reducing costs, improving performance, and so on and so forth. And I think that's a very important point. When we think about nurturing innovation, we're not thinking necessarily reinventing something that actually does not yet exist. And so then to jump on what Maria and Michael said, I think the link here between markets and innovation is very important to understand. Fostering demand for clean energy helps speed up the innovation process. Throughout history, we have so many examples in which innovations never reach the market because there is no demand for them. So creating markets for clean energy technologies is probably as important as inventing the technology in the first place. And I think this point has been made by Maria in your keynote as well. Focusing on manufacturing, focusing on clean energy markets, including for mature technologies, this fosters the business case for emerging technologies. This is an incentive for innovators. Now, we need to find a balance between protecting domestic or regional markets and fostering competition in a way. And this is a challenge not only for the European Union, but also for the United States, and also actually for China. So just overall, the first message, we don't need fundamentally new breakthroughs. It's sometimes about incremental improvements. And the second message, fostering market demand supports innovation as well. And I think this is important for the NZIA to look at.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I would like to pass on to Valérie, because I'm curious what she has to say on this topic here.
Thank you. Well, indeed, I really like the fact that Jean-Baptiste supports the fact that our technology is definitely part of the ones ready to develop and which should be pushed. That I cannot agree more. And it did. In terms of priorities for delivering innovative, competitive net zero technologies, I had kind of a few keywords: availability, suitability, systemic approach, as Michael was saying, resilience, scalability, and sustainability. So availability, as we said, we cannot avoid 2040 to decarbonize. We have some technologies available now. Let's use them, and this is a decade of transition. Whatever is ready now should be used and promoted politically with the right incentives, with the right stop of subsidies to the fossil fuels as well, and really go full speed to the available clean tech technology. So this is a political message, and I don't know to what extent the set plan can do something. The set plan and CET partnership can do something. It's more in the hands of our future energy commissioner and the energy ministers and the investment funds locally. But well, let's make that those technologies available on the market. Of course, research for other technologies can continue, but they, like hydrogen, CCS, small modular reactors, these things will continue, but they are not ready to deploy now. So let's make use of what is available now, and solar heat is definitely a technology which can address those needs. Suitability is the other word that I had, because we need to remember that heat is half of our needs. Heat is half of the energy that people need. It's 80% in buildings, it's 60% for industry, and we don't talk about it enough. We have direct renewable heat supplies like solar heat, geothermal, clean district heating. They can deliver now, and let's not waste some energy which would maybe be more applicable for other uses when we have direct renewable heat supplies available. So let's also keep that in mind, that whatever can be addressed by these precious direct renewable heat supplies should be used. The systemic approach, we have heard about it from Michael and the different colleagues, but we also are very supportive of working in a comprehensive and integrative way. We can really work in synergy and in symbiosis, for example, by solar heat providing the basic heat need for a heat pump, and then that heat pump needing less use of electricity and being more efficient and putting less pressure on the grid. So this is just an example, but let's think in that comprehensive and systemic approach, using also concept like thermal energy storage, which can be also very cost effective and which is available already now. Scalability is something that we want to talk. Well, those solutions are ready to scale up, so they can be moved. We had, for example, some relevant EU projects. I think they were actually started by Austria on how to use solar heat in industry, looking at the beer sector. When this project was put together, it was still a pilot one, but after the learnings of that project of how to use solar heat in the brewing sector, this made different projects to come up. So it's inspiring to have also these projects which put the right emphasis at the right moment, and which can then be role model for others and stimulate more market demand. Sustainability, of course, it's a really important parameter to drive research. And here I mean the three pillars of sustainability: economy. We want to promote EU-made criteria. As I said, in my sector, we have EU SMEs who are keen to continue meeting a growing demand, who are also exporting worldwide. We were talking about international cooperation. Some of the SMEs in my sector are selling 70% of their production worldwide to countries like Africa, Latin America, supplying hot water and heat for populations there, not just for Europe, but voilà, that's really important, that this economic aspect of sustainability with preserving the tissue of SMEs is there. Ursula von der Leyen, when she started her new mandate, she was saying there is no Europe without SMEs. In my sector, we have many SMEs and they are really keen to grow and further invest. The environmental pillar of sustainability is, of course, critical. We do welcome the fact that these non-price criteria are going to be an important element under NZIA, but maybe there is a role for CET to also support us and notably the SMEs in producing the life cycle analysis, working on these environmental sustainability criteria, enabling the circularity, enabling concepts like design for circularity of our products, and also promoting this concept of healthy technology and non emitting of hazardous substances and so on, preserving biodiversity, of course. And the social criteria, last pillar of sustainability, is of course very important in the way we source our raw materials, in the way we manufacture products through our good labor standards here at EU level, in the way we incentivize people to come and work for our sectors, in the way we attract installers to install our technology. So all these social aspects are also important. So really driving clean tech for good with all these parameters is important. So that's what I wanted to say. So really having available materials, suitability for the biggest energy needs, systemic approach, resilience, scalability, and sustainability. That's quite ambitious, but well, that's what I would like to promote. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. So what we were starting with was what is the perspective of this markets on the one hand side and the research and innovation at the other. Well, at the other side, no. Promoting both of them is so important, and that is something that I hear from your comments, Valérie, and also from what Jean-Baptiste was saying. But also, please focus, please realize that we are there with a couple of with many technologies. That doesn't mean we can't improve them. That doesn't mean we don't need to also think about the 35% from Jean-Baptiste, but we can do already. We shouldn't overlook that we need to focus on those markets, and of course, our leading aim is climate neutral in 2050, and that also means that we will be changing our market. We can't do anything else when we want to get there. I'm convinced, but what I wanted to move to is to Julia, because there are some audience questions as well, and we of course love to have everybody involved there. And please put your questions in the chat. But Julia, there are a couple already, I understand.
Exactly. So I will start with one that was addressed to Jean-Baptiste Le Marois, but I think can be also answered also by Maria Getsiou, and it is what specific R&I areas do you believe require the most investment and focus?
Thank you for the question. I will be very quick in the interest of time. I think today one of the areas where we need most investment is actually not a specific sector. I mean, I mentioned these sectors: heavy industry, long distance transport. So this is still the case. But in terms of the innovation journey from the lab to the market, I think there needs to be increasing investments in demonstration projects. I'm talking about technologies that are right before commercialization. So after prototyping, full-scale commercial demonstration, first of a kind, second of a kind, especially the large scale and complex ones. We're talking about projects which have capital requirements north of 1 billion for a single project in many cases. We need to see more of these in heavy industry, in long distance transport, in infrastructure, large scale integration of renewables, and so on and so forth. We have a variety of resources on the IA website specifically on demonstration projects. And I'm not saying that lab research and R&D or that uptake is not important. However, the place in the innovation journey where the risks are highest and the capital requirements are highest is at the demonstration stage. It's one of the valleys of death, and there's a reason for that. And I think governments have a role to play here. In our analysis, we see that each dollar spent by governments in demonstration projects is matched by $1 from the private sector. We typically have a 50-50 co-financing rate. So I'll pause here, but demonstration projects.
Thank you. There was another question, Julia. Or,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. So yes, there is one on the grid. So is it clear? It is clear, sorry, that the bottleneck for the green energy transition is the power grid. Energy production costs are plummeting, whilst distribution costs are rising. What are the panelists' thoughts about the role of the DSOs and how to launch disruptive technologies in markets that are monopolies? It's basically two questions in one, I think.
It is not such an easy question, and also a bit, well, it touches upon the power grid and implementation, and we are looking at this in the CET partnership, but from the research perspective, I would say. And if it comes to implementation, this is something where I'm sure the Commission is looking at, and I also see Michael making. Do you want to say anything about this, Michael?
Yes, I think because particularly in the Clean Energy Transition Partnership, we have an approach. I think that supports that question. First thing I want to say is power grids need strong enforcement, and we need to build new grids, and we need to also smartificate our grids. There's no question, full stop. But in addition, I want to say that the power grid is not the only solution that is missing there or that is required. What I said before, system integration, and Valérie said it also, system integration, finding synergies, using the flexibility of the heating and cooling systems for the power grid, integrating local production industries into the power grid and also the technologies in a seamless way. And those things are interdependent. So what we can do in, let's say, integrating renewable technologies like heating and cooling technologies on industry production facilities contributes also to the grid integration of those facilities into the power grid. So this is what I think we need to consider, system integration in a holistic view. And the Clean Energy Transition Partnership therefore has not only 3 technology-focused transition initiatives running, but 4 more transition initiatives that are particularly supposed to look on these system integration aspects on a global infrastructure level, on a regional and local level, and also from the perspective of integration of technologies into industry facilities and integration of industry facilities into the networks, as well as the building sector, integrating technologies into the building sector, but also integrating the built environment into the overarching networks. So these are the 4 systemic approaches that we have.
Thank you. This is really, really good. And I would say I would also expand on this and go to a question about how the mission-oriented approach of the CET partnership, and it's really touching upon this particular question. The mission-oriented approach of the CET partnership and a more technology-oriented approach in the Net Zero Industry Act, they need to be implemented in parallel, I would say. how should the Net Zero Industry Act have an impact on the definition of topics in the CET partnership, or what is the perspective of how this is all organized? I would ask Maria to comment on that. What she sees happening in the CET partnership and the way we organize our research and innovation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course, as mentioned earlier in my presentation, the NZIA is not about research and innovation. It is about commercialization or bringing manufacturing of commercial technologies. But there is a big road between research and innovation and actually manufacturing of commercial technologies. However, we have to feed the potential technologies that can be manufactured, and this is done by research and innovation. In my presentation, I already mentioned that there are certain areas where the focus should be put on. So focus on certain key technologies necessarily, because those technologies are the ones that are going to bear the transition, the energy transition weight more. So this is one thing. The second thing is without this does not mean that all the other technologies and technologies that participate in system integration should be neglected. On the contrary, I'm saying, however, that for NZIA only, certain technologies are the key technologies on which to focus on. Second thing is that we have to focus on selecting research which is very close to commercialization, as has been also said. Demonstration pilot lines, for example, this is another area which you can support, or we have to give priority in order to cater for NZIA. And of course, the aspects of sustainability, recyclability, all these aspects that fall, and energy efficiency, which fall under the non-price criteria. So for technologies that can cater for non-price criteria. Now, the CET partnership is very well organized around not technologies, but very well organized around challenges. And I think this should not change. However, there will be a dialogue, a constant dialogue between NZIA and the CET partnership, which means that there is a feedback, and a feedback of the needs of what are the needs that we would have in industry, or what are the needs of SMEs in order to respond to NZIA. This will be fed to the CETP partnership in order to concentrate and focus its efforts to these areas. But the thing is that CETP partnership already is constructed around challenges which are very, very important. And the organization around the transition initiatives is also very important. The fact that it is not concentrated on technologies itself, but on initiative is very important. I think this should not change. But a focus at certain TRI levels of research, a focus on certain technologies and systemic approach to those technologies. I would rather say not technology, but energy carriers better, because there are more technologies that can cater these energy carriers, would be perhaps something that the CETP could do. That's from my point of view.
On this.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry. Yes, well, thank you. This is really helpful, I think. But Michael, as the coordinator of the CET partnership, would you have anything to add to this?
Maybe one aspect, and again, I want to say that I think we are very much aligned here, and I agree a lot with everything that has been said, and I just try to add aspects. I mean, as the Net Zero Industry Act, of course, is driven by industry policies in a way, and still what I have mentioned at the beginning of my statement before, that I mean, the important factor to sustainably produce on the world market means to be on the world market, and Europe is a quite limited market. So we need really to think about what our role can be in the global value chains. And I think here the CET partnership again provides really a wonderful opportunity. The more and more we are also expanding to countries that are participating from outside Europe, and we have already the first African countries participating. We have Canada, we have the US, we have India, and so forth. Australia interested. So as we become also a network that provides the opportunity to connect to players from outside Europe, it is I think interesting opportunity for producers and innovators to use this R&I environment to specify on the global value chains, to find exactly the place where European producers in chains, because sometimes that might be easier than to provide a whole product like the PV production from Europe if we are not in the center of these global markets.
Yes, thank you. I think that we are getting to the end of this discussion here, and I think that that this has been a very good panel with those different views from the International Energy Agency, from the European Commission, right from the CET partnership, of course, and also from one of the industries. We've been discussing the importance of research and innovation to deliver that climate neutrality that we're looking for. We've been discussing the importance of markets at the same time. We've been discussing what the Net Zero Industry Act can bring that, but we've also been discussing what else we might or we need to stay on focused on in our clean energy transition partnership. And then I'm talking about the integration challenges and initiatives that we're thinking about in the Clean Energy Transition Partnership. And we've also discussed how this all fits together, how we need to underline the importance of demonstration, and also how we need to understand that we can start today with the technologies that we have. So I think that I hope that you all agree with me that this has been a journey worth making with us. And with that, I pass it over to Michael, who will actually be wrapping up this morning's session in a minute. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
Gerdi.
all of you.
I'm taking over this task. I have seen that we are already quite short in time, therefore I will not use a lot of time to wrap up for this morning. I think we have said really a lot already in this panel, and it has been very well summarized. So I will immediately lead into introduction of what is coming up this afternoon. So as I have said at the beginning, you will be able to receive some presentations of projects that were emerging from our joint call 2022 that are already up and running and that are already contributing to the challenges that we have been discussing and mentioning this morning. And you will be able to really connect with the proponents of these projects in live Q&A sessions. So please, after the lunch break, be back at 1 o'clock and enjoy our projects and get in active contact with them. You find on the platform the button where you can join the afternoon session, putting the Net Zero Industry Act into practice. Have a good lunch break, and let's see each other again at 1 o'clock.
There are many ways to find out how to successfully apply for a call at CET Partnership.
Of course, the best way to do this is to read up on our website or ask directly at our events online or in person if you are unsure.
But we have put together a few of the most important and decisive points here.
The CET partnership calls for proposals cover a wide range of topics and areas.
They are divided into different topics, the so-called call modules.
Each call module addresses a specific innovation challenge of the energy transition and places specific requirements on project proposals.
It is clear to us that there are no sharp dividing lines, especially as we are all working for a larger overall system that we want to shape together in the CET partnership.
The different modules are therefore complementary, and there is no clear dividing line. But every project needs a focus. It is therefore important to carefully consider which of the modules is most relevant for your own project proposal.
The project proposal must be assigned to exactly one call module.
The CET partnership promotes transnational cooperation. International teams are therefore also a criterion.
The basic rule is, a consortium must consist of at least 3 independent legal entities, from at least 3 different countries.
However, there are other aspects to consider here. Please consult the current call text in this regard.
The CET partnership is a coordination mechanism, not a fund in its own right. It coordinates RDI funders to jointly finance a project. Each funding partner supports project participants from their own country or region.
So if you want to apply for funding for the tasks or work packages you are taking on in the project, it is crucial that one of the participating national or regional funding partners is willing and able to fund them. This means that the relevant funding institution must have committed to funding proposals for the selected call module. And your organization must be eligible to submit proposals to this funding institution.
Basic information on which funding partners are involved in a particular topic and what their specific requirements are can be found in the call text. It is important to note that these rules apply to all consortium partners. This means that every project consortium partner applying for funding must also meet the funding criteria.
There is a considerable risk that the entire project will not be able to participate in the selection process if one of the applicant partners, who is not self-financing, does not meet the funding criteria of the responsible funding agency.
But the most important tip is to use the CET partnership network and platform.
Read the online information and documents carefully.
And contact the relevant offices if you have any questions. Be it at events related to the CET partnership or the local and regional partners.
They will help to ensure that nothing stands in the way of success. The success of the applicants and,
of course,
the success of a clean, innovative and functioning, sustainable and fair energy system.